Angeles Kings are indeed the kings of the National Hockey League. They are the 2012 Stanley Cup champions.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another post-game live here on Dime Dropper for the 2024 NBA playoffs. Before we get started, you already know the drill. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and hit the notification bell so you know every single time I post a video or go live. And follow your boy on social media on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Dime Dropper Pod. Live from Los Angeles. I promised I was going to go live. I will say, though, it is going to be a little underwhelming. I tried to watch games. I've been just, again, very busy. But I did try to get some games off, and I got two to talk about here, but I'm still not caught up. So apologies for the delays and for me not being on track. And, you know, I know what you guys are probably saying, like, dude, just watch them live. Like, forget about these games. Nope, not happening. I'm going to try to talk about every single playoff game because there's adjustments to games, and I need to know what's going on in every single game, and we will be caught up by the end of the week. I will promise you. But anyway, so we're going to talk about those two games that I'm going to talk about tonight. It's going to be Cavaliers Magic Game 7, and then it's going to be Knicks Pacers Game 1, and I got a lot to say about that one. So, by the way, check out my recent videos if you haven't. Basketball on Figueroa with Edwin, what's it called? My recent, the Clipper end of the season videos, and then stay tuned this summer. Copa America, coming to LA, coming to America. I'm going to be at some games, so that'll be cool to see on the channel. If you're into soccer, go back and watch my World Cup vlogs. Those were elite. But anyway, I still can't believe I was actually in Qatar. That was crazy. But anyway, let's talk about this game, a Game 7. Always a pleasure when we get to talk about a Game 7 and break it down. And this series deserved it. Every single team won their home games, Cleveland and Orlando. And it was a defensive-minded series from the second it started. And, man, it was a solid Game 7. The first four games were blowouts, but games 5, 6, and 7 were also good. Wendell Carter started on Evan Mobley, Paolo Banchero, and Isaac Okoro, who started instead of Marcus Morris this game. They went with Marcus Morris in Game 6. Definitely a smarter decision to go with Okoro. Franz Wagner on Max Strus, Gary Harris on Darius Garland, Jalen Suggs on Donovan Mitchell. Those were the initial matchups. On Cleveland side, still no Jared Allen. Gary Harris came back, but there was still no Jared Allen with that rib injury. And the fact that they were able to get across the finish line without Jared Allen, I think says a lot about this Cavs team and the steps that they've made from last season. But let's see. Those were their matchups. And then Wendell Carter was in drop coverage. Evan Mobley was in drop coverage. And then Karis LeVert, Darius Garland, and Max Strus were all hedging the screens on Paolo Banchero, so they were not allowed to switch onto them. And that's one thing I really like about these two teams, and it applies to Minnesota and Oklahoma City as well. They only switch when they feel like the person that is switching onto them can guard the best player. It's not just, oh, we're just going to switch because we don't want our defense in rotation, but you're switching a weak defender onto their best offensive player, and they getting to choose that. So they do a good job of limiting that. And then when Mo Wagner came in, he was hedging the screens with the Donovans and the Garlands of the world. Now, the Magic actually threw the first punch in this game, and I was so impressed with their composure. In a Game 7, they'd never been in it before. And you know why they were able to do that? Because they guard, because they lock up. And when you defend, you can be in a lot of games. Your offense in a Game 7, you just never know how it's going to be, especially to start, and you're on the road. It can be a lot of nerves, a lot of jitters. Your decision-making may not be the clearest, but the one thing that you can control is your defense, and the adrenaline is flowing. You can go out there and get stops. And not only were they doing that, Paolo Banchero came out hot. 2 threes from the left wing. Wendell Carter made a 3 from the top of the key that made it 16-10 Magic, which led to a timeout by the Cavs. But as I said, it was just a really good defensive game from the get-go. And at one point in that first quarter, Orlando went on a 13-0 run. And I was obviously looking at this game more from a Cavs perspective because they are the ones who had the pressure on them, and I predicted them to win in 7. And they were making some terrible on-ball decisions to start the game. Bad reads in the pick and roll, passing up open shots, taking bad shots, and it had 5 turnovers that resulted in 8 Orlando Magic points. And a lot of that was just because of the pressure defensively of the Magic getting up into the Cavaliers and the chasing by Jalen Suggs and Gary Harris, the point of attack Very impressive, getting the Cavs to second guess a lot of shit. So they were struggling in that first quarter. 6 points, though, for Karis LeVert to end that quarter. He actually gave the Cavs something going into that second. But after the first quarter, the score was 24-18 Orlando. So as I said, holding the Cavs to just 18 points in that first quarter. Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs played the entire first quarter. They both didn't shoot very well, combined 1 for 10 in that first quarter. But Wendell Carter had 8 points in the first. Not 8 points. Paolo Banchero had 10 points in the first to lead the way for the Magic. And then for the Cavs, they shot just 27% in the first. Donovan Mitchell, 2 for 9, 8 points. Darius Garland, 1 for 3. So everybody was basically cold to start the game for the Cavs. Second quarter, Orlando just kept on going. They were making threes left and right. And it's kind of crazy because they're shooting. It's been so night and day at home and away. And then finally here in game 7, they're making all their threes. And Darius Garland, I mean, he was bricking everything. Good looks, too. Had a bunch of good looks. Getting into the paint, missing everything. And on the other side, Paolo, he was just a beast. Getting to the basket, the amount of pressure he puts on the rim, him in the mid-range area. I'm a big fan of this guy. 9-0 Magic run. They go up by 18. And again, we're waiting for Cole Anthony to make an impact in a road game. He comes in and scores 4 points and had an amazing pin block on Darius Garland. So the Magic were just rolling on all cylinders, and they were looking like they had been in several game 7s, and the Cavs looked like they were taken by the moment. And Paolo was just getting better shots for his team than Donovan Mitchell because of his size. Now, there was a lot of fouls in the second and third quarter in particular, a lot of fouls. Let me just take a quick look at how many because it felt like a lot. 9 fouls for the Magic and 8 fouls for the Cavs in the quarter, 8 free throws apiece for the teams respectively. And I'll tell you what, the Cavaliers, they kind of made a little run at the end of the second quarter that got them back in the game and gave them momentum going into the second half. And I think that really started with just them continuing to get stops. And when you have a guy like Evan Mobley around the rim and Isaac Okoro at the point of attack and Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are trying their best, and they have a good defensive scheme where they're not just letting Mitchell and Karis LeVert and Garland guard Banchero. You're only allowing the Struces and the Mobleys and the Marcus Morrises to guard him. Well, that's going to make things a little bit tougher. And so, again, just same way you can, ensure that you play well even when your shots don't fall. The one thing you can do to stay in games is defend. So then the lead is never too much. You're always keeping the other team at bay. And once you start making shots, if you're always playing defense, you'll go on a run. And one of the guys that was actually hitting some big shots in that stretch was Sam Merrill. We haven't seen much of him in the series, but he made some big shots towards the end of that second quarter, had 2 threes in the quarter, and those were his only shots. 8 points for him in that quarter, which actually led all Cavaliers. Paolo Banchero had 14 in the second quarter alone for the Magic, who outscored the Cavs 29-25 in the second, but they were up by as many as 18. They led at the half 53-43. And at this point, Darius Garland is 1 for 6 at halftime. Donovan Mitchell is 3 for 13. So it's really, you don't even want to look any further than that. They got to play better. Simple as. They got to play better. Because Paolo Banchero, he had 24 points at halftime. 24 points. But guess what? Third quarter, 2 guys in particular turned up for the Cavs. Max Strus and Donovan Mitchell. Max Strus knocking down the 3 ball. He was always playing good defense, but he was knocking down the 3 ball. All of his shots were on the move. 11 points in the third quarter alone, 3 threes, and they were all on the move, like a dribble handoff. One he even hit off the bounce. So that gave them a huge boost. And there's one thing about Max Strus, there's no coincidence that he's in the second round now for the 3rd straight year and is playing such a big role on those teams. He's one of those guys that even though he sometimes will take some suspect shots and make some weird decisions, for the most part, he doesn't do too much to hurt your team. And that's very important in the playoffs. I talk about this all the time. The guys that win and are part of these rotations and getting significant minutes, they're guys that don't do shit to fuck up. You know what I mean? The worst thing that you do is that you miss open shots, but you take the right shots. That's not going to be that detrimental to anything that a team does. And Max Strus is kind of one of those guys to me. He always plays hard. He's consistent. He knows for the most part, he knows what his shots are and what aren't. I think sometimes he does have a tendency to take some ill-advised threes, but like who doesn't these days? Donovan Mitchell, he went crazy in the third quarter, and it was all about getting downhill. One thing I noticed was that they were trying to attack quicker in the half court because when you're playing against a set, great defense, it's just going to be hard to score points, even in this era. So Donovan was looking to attack quick. A lot of times he was getting downhill with that in and out. Several times he got in the paint with just that simple in and out. And there was one time he got a quick high screen and pulled up for three and made it. Then he had that bump and threw it up for the and one that tied the game. Garland, by the way, is still missing layups at this point. And it was another foul-heavy quarter, man. A lot of fouls. But again, this is game 7. You have the intensity. You have the physicality that you expect. Couple moments of chippiness. 9 fouls for the Magic in the third. 5 for the Cavaliers. And then Paolo at this time was going cold. And everything was tough for him. You got to give the guys credit. Isaac Okoro, Evan Mobley, Max Strus. Everything was tough for Paolo. Nothing easy. And this is where you weren't getting enough really from Franz Wagner. And you were starting to see that if it's not Paolo creating shots, you're not getting many good looks for Orlando. So another guy offensively that they could try to hopefully go out and get next season for their sake, like a point guard, somebody good in the pick and roll that has to be respected going over screens. That could really take them to another level. But right now it's a lot of a second-year guy trying to do a lot. In the half court, Franz Wagner, he just kind of has one move. He'll go hard one way and then he gets cut off. He doesn't really have any counters to that from what I've seen in this sample size of his first couple of years. I think he's got that little 1-2 Euro step, and he's got good footwork, but against elite defenses, if you've got no wiggle to your game and you've got no real jump shot, then it's going to be hard to get good shots. And I think that's what was happening really. You're starting to see with the Magic, and that they're not a great offensive team, and that's why I didn't pick them to win a series this year. They just did not show the offensive prowess to win a series. But later in this third quarter, the Cavs started actually switching LeVert onto Paolo and then doubling when he got the ball. As I said, Okoro and Mobley, I thought they did a really spectacular job defending and staying strong against Paolo because you need to be really physical with Paolo. I mean, this guy's a grown man-child. Third quarter, the Cavaliers outscored the Magic 33-15. I mean, come on, 33-15. That's major. Starts on the defensive end. No Orlando Magic player in that quarter scoring more than 5 points. Paolo Banchero, 1 for 7 in the quarter. How about Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner? They played the entire third quarter just like the first. They were 1 for 10 in the first combined. How about 1 for 11 in this one, in the third? Franz Wagner, 0 for 6 in the third quarter. But the fourth quarter still had some twists in the tails. Darius Garland, he finally made a 3. And then off an offensive rebound, he had a little 2-on-1. Man, I wrote something wrong in the note there. I don't even know what that means. I put Garland finally hits a 3, shoots 2-on-1, possession off of offensive rebound. How can it be a 2-on-1? That sounds like a fast break situation off an offensive rebound. So I don't know what my notes even are saying there, but Garland did finally hit a 3. And they did go up 88-77. And, the Magic were just kind of young and showing it. A lot of not being able to play defense without fouling. Then Mobley's interior D just did such a good job shutting down the paint. And it wasn't enough scoring for Orlando. There's not much you could say. I think Paolo tried. He had 10 points in the fourth. He did his best. But Franz Wagner to go 0 for 9 in the second half of this game. And then he just didn't really get much from someone else. And at the end of the day, Donovan Mitchell is the best player in this series right now. Paolo Banchero is great, but he's not better than Donovan. And that's mainly why the Cavs won. They're at home, and Donovan Mitchell was the best player in the series. And a lot of times that's what it's going to be. When the supporting casts are equivalent, and I think they were fairly equivalent, I think Jared Allen also didn't play. But Donovan Mitchell was the best player in the series. They're at home, and they're more experienced. It's not that much to say. I mean, I know Orlando fans will probably find some reasons that they lost, and they weren't good enough and whatnot, but by the way, Darius Garland had 10 points in the fourth. That was huge. Donovan, 7 points, even though he was 1 for 5. But he and Garland essentially played the whole fourth, and they outscored the Magic 30-26 to win Game 7 at home, 106-94. I have to say, this is the first time I've ever seen the Cleveland Cavaliers win a Game 7. Win a series without LeBron. I've never seen it before in my life, so it's really cool to see that. Donovan Mitchell putting his name in the Cleveland Cavalier history books alongside Darius Garland and Evan Mobley with a series win. I mean, again, for franchises that don't have everybody always, watching my channel is like Laker fans, a lot of Celtics fans, and they hold these other franchises to their standards. And just winning a series, man, is a big deal. You know, you have different iterations of your team, and when you win a playoff series, that's a big deal. So congratulations to the Cavs. 106-94 is the final. Oof. Let's take a look at the lines for this game, starting with the losing side, the Orlando Magic. Joe Ingles, bitch ass, played 6 minutes, and he had 0 points. You suck, you're old, and you're washed. But I will say, like, just to be honest, it's good to have a vet on the team getting some minutes. It can't just be all young guys. Mo Wagner, only 11 and a half minutes in this game, 3 points, 2 rebounds, 1 block, 1 steal. He was okay. Not one of his more impactful games compared to what he's had in this series. But again, you're not leaning into these guys to win you a series in a game 7 on the road. It's not going to be these guys. Cole Anthony, I actually thought he did fine. He was a +8 when he was on the court. He had 8 points and 2 rebounds on 3 for 5 shooting. He was in foul trouble, though, with 5 fouls. But I think if you get 8 points off the bench in 13 minutes from Cole Anthony on 60% shooting, you're going to take that. I have no problem with the way he played if you're a Magic fan. Jonathan Isaac, 18 minutes played, 2 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. On the quieter side, 1 for 2 from the field. Markelle Fultz played 13 minutes, and I thought he was pretty good. Scored, although I'm not looking at it from a Magic side defensively, but he was pretty good from what I saw looking at the game from the lens I was watching it in. Or watching it from. 8 points for him on 4 for 6 shooting. And then the starters, Gary Harris, 6 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. Fouled out of the game on 2 for 4 shooting and 2 for 3 from deep. I don't really have much to say about him. And then you had Wendell Carter, who had 13 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals, 2 turnovers on 5 for 10 shooting and 2 for 4 from 3. So that's really efficient shooting from Wendell Carter. Jalen Suggs, by the way, just to look at it from the grand scheme of things, the Magic shot just 34% from the field. The Cavs shot 44% from the field. So, I mean, you shoot 34% on the road in a game, in a road game, in a game 7. It's going to be hard to win. 32% shooting from 3 for Orlando, 33 for the Cavs, so not much better in that department. And then 87% from the foul line for Orlando, 26 for 30, 30 for 36, 83% for Cleveland. As far as Jalen Suggs, he had a really rough shooting game. I think he had a very good series, but he had a rough shooting game. I think he's got a great future, though, and should definitely be an all-defensive player. 10 points, 9 rebounds, including 4 offensive, 4 assists, 1 steal, but 5 turnovers is huge in a game 7. He was 2 for 13 from the field, 2 for 10 from 3, and 4 of 5 from the line. Again, just a lot of threes when you're bricking, man. And a lot of them were good looks, but hey, Franz Wagner, man, it's a brutal stat line to look at. 6 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 1 for 15 from the field, 0 for 5 from 3. A lot of it comes down to not having that much wiggle in the game right now, not having too many go-to moves, getting cut off on the first move. And then they got to improve his shot. And he's very passive. But the fact that he shot 15 shots, I mean, that's pretty good. But, man, 1 for 15 is rough. Paolo Banchero, I really don't think you could say much wrong about anything he did. I think just the 5 turnovers is too much, but he showed a lot to me in this first round. Like, he is just a beast. He's a superstar. He has a chance of being a best friend of championship team kind of potential. 38 points, 16 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 1 block, 10 for 28 shooting. So he didn't shoot well. 3 for 6 from 3, but he emptied the clip. 15 for 18 from the line. The amount of pressure that he puts on your defense is amazing. I think Paolo, the one thing he's got to just keep doing is getting better shooting the ball and then keep working on his post game because he's got to really lean into that with his build. I mean, he's amazing. So I think the Magic are great. I think they just got to get a point guard and then keep on building, man. This is a fun team. Like, I'm jealous of that. Like, I want to build something like that. That's fun. They're going to have a great future. They'll be in the playoffs for years to come if they don't mess this up. You know, Wendell Carter's now, this was his 7th year. Wow, time flies. But, you know, I think he's approaching his prime. He's a solid player. And then Suggs, Banchero, and Wagner. Man, those are good guys to have in Isaac. As far as the Cavaliers, they won this one. George Niang played 3 minutes at a donut, 0 for 2. Tristan Thompson played 7 minutes at a donut, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, though, on 0 for 1 shooting. 2 offensive rebounds, classic Tristan Thompson. 7 minutes only for Marcus Morris, a donut, 2 rebounds, and did not look very good defensively, which is more like the Marcus Morris I know recently. And then Sam Merrill, 11 minutes played, but those were big 11 minutes. The ending of the second quarter gave the Cavs some momentum, as I said. 8 points on 2 for 2 shooting, and he was 2 for 2 from everywhere, field, 3, and the foul line. Karis LeVert, he gave the Cavs a really nice boost in this game when they needed it most, and he hadn't had a very good series up until this point, so big-time performance by him. He had 15, 5, and 4. That's 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block on 5 for 9 shooting, 0 for 2 from 3, and 5 for 7 from the line. And then Isaac Okoro had some really good defense throughout the game, started in place of Jared Allen, 8 points, 3 boards, 1 assist, 1 block. 8 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 3 for 6 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3, and 2 for 2 from the line. Then Max Strus, really solid game. He turned up in the third quarter, and he did what he needed to do, played really good defense, 13 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 3 turnovers is too much, though, on 5 for 9 shooting and 3 for 6 from 3. And then Evan Mobley, big-time double-double. The defense was amazing, 11 points, 16 rebounds, 5 blocks. 5, but 6 turnovers is way too much. 5 blocks on 5 for 8 shooting. Playing center without Jared Allen, I have to say, he did the job. Darius Garland, what a rough game for him, but they still got the job done even without it. I will say he did play big in the fourth quarter, but going to need much better to compete against the Celtics team. 12 points, 3 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals on 3 for 13 shooting and 1 for 4 from 3. Donovan Mitchell, the man of the hour, totally redeemed himself from last year's poor performance in the first round and the performance in the first round against against Dallas the previous year without Luka for the first 3 games of the series. Just not good enough for his standards. And then he obviously did not play very well in games 3, 4, 5, and 6 against us, the Clippers. Donovan, 39 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, just 1 turnover, a plus 17 on 11 for 27 shooting, 2 for 8 from 3. And here's my favorite stat of all, 15 for 17 from the line in 45 minutes. Let me say this. You empty the clip in a game 7. One thing about Donovan, he's always going to get his shots up, but it wasn't so forced like when he was in Utah in 2022 and he wasn't not playing defense. And the major thing I've held against him recently, the last couple of playoffs, is him settling too much. And he was constantly getting downhill in that second half against a better defense than he's played the last couple of years. So that shows you the maturation of Donovan Mitchell, getting into his prime now, going to the basket relentlessly. You have a great first step. Maybe he got his conditioning better. I don't know. He is impressive. So that was awesome. Congrats to Donovan getting the Cavs a series win. And that's it for that game, guys. So now I'm going to talk about the one other game of this day and that I can talk about today because I haven't watched games 2 and 3 of the Wolves series. I haven't watched any games of the Celtics and Dallas series, and I haven't watched games 2 and 3 of the Knicks. I'm sorry. I will do that right when I get off this. I'll keep watching. But let's talk about the Knicks and the Pacers, man. And I have to say, this is a controversial game to talk about. It was a crazy ending to it, and let's get into it. Man, let me just say, this Indiana-New York rivalry, it goes back. I mean, you got to talk about the Reggie Miller stuff against the Knicks in the 90s, and then you talk about 2013 Pacers and Knicks. I had the Pacers winning in 6, and that's exactly what ended up happening in that series. But in this series, I got the Knicks winning in 6. That was my prediction before the series. And let's get right into it. Not like the Dome, now to the Garden. To start the game, you had Jalen Brunson guarding Andrew Nembhard, Isaiah Hartenstein on Miles Turner, OG Anunoby on his former teammate Pascal Siakam, Josh Hart on Aaron Nesmith, and Dante DiVincenzo on Halliburton. On the other side, Miles Turner on Isaiah Hartenstein. Andrew Nembhard began the game on Brunson, Halliburton on DiVincenzo, Nesmith on Josh Hart, and then Siakam on OG. Turner was in a high drop, so he was trying to take away Brunson's pull-up, but he was still dropping. And then Isaiah Jackson, same kind of deal when he came off the bench. Isaiah Hartenstein in drop coverage. And then Jalen Brunson, they were trying to put him in the action. He was just hedging on Halliburton, showing and recovering. Mitchell Robinson was in drop coverage, and then Pascal was even in drop coverage. So they were not switching Siakam on a Brunson, but I think a lot of that was because they didn't want like Nembhard switching on to OG or something like that. But Brunson, he came out of the gate aggressive as usual, getting in the basket, getting in the mid-range, getting to the line. You know he does it. And then there's a certain somebody I got to talk about in this game that was just like beyond description. And that's Josh Hart. The way this guy has played through these first 7 games of the postseason that I've watched has been nothing short of $25 to $30 million player. Like, he does everything. His rebounding is insane. He gets every rebound in sight, seemingly. He plays great defense. He plays the whole fucking game like he's John Havlicek. And he still is scoring. He's getting downhill. He's making the right plays, and he's making clutch shots. We talk about that shot he made in Game 6 against the Sixers. I mean, this guy is just a total Knicks type of players. He had 5 straight points, a 3 and a bucket to make it 19-13 Knicks. Timeout, Indiana. You know who else has been amazing in the playoffs? And by the way, it was a 21-9 run led by Josh Hart, and he was literally doing everything. There was one sequence where he contested a Siakam shot, got the rebound, pushed it up the floor, kicked it to OG, who made a 3, and then he sprints back on defense, gets an interception on an outlet pass, and then the Knicks get it again. I mean, the guy was just unbelievable. And the Knicks led by as many as 9 in the first quarter, and then was led by a 21-9 run from Hart, but the Pacers clapped back. And you know what it was led by? The bench. And you know who's been amazing through 7 games of the playoffs too? TJ McConnell. He was getting downhill. He had this filthy crossover on Brunson. Made a long 2, hit a mid-range, rejecting a screen. This was all in the first quarters. Had 6 points right away, and he was also guarding Brunson. They did a good job ending that first quarter pretty well. And after 1, the score was 27-24 New York. Siakam was 0 for 3 in the first quarter, and Halliburton just 1 for 3. So DiVincenzo doing a pretty solid job. McConnell had 6 points to lead the Pacers in that first quarter, actually. And then for the Knicks, 10 points for Brunson and then 9 for Hart. That was 19 of the 27 points for them in that first quarter. Now, in the second quarter, it was more Pacer bench. Ben Shepherd hit his second 3. And then Isaiah Jackson, I thought he had a great impact. He was super active, playing good defense, had a nice block, rebounding. He had a nice finish on the roll against Hartenstein, had a really great dunk where he literally took off from like the middle of the key. In the second quarter, Isaiah Jackson was 2 for 2, 4 points and 3 rebounds in 4 minutes. Yeah, talk about impactful. And as I said, the Pacers bench was just killing the Knicks bench, and that really lasted the whole game. Pacers, they started really trying to go at Jalen Brunson, and Brunson was just hedging on the pick and roll. I'm sorry. The Pacers started hedging on Jalen Brunson instead of just playing drop coverage, which I don't know why teams don't do more. Although I do kind of get why. It's because Hartenstein is so good in the short roll, but you got to try to get somebody else to score. I mean, Brunson in drop coverage is just too lethal at that point, like against drop coverage. So the first time they hedged on the screen, Brunson turned the ball over at half court, basically. And so then Nesmith was taking a crack at him. So Nesmith, McConnell, and Nembhard, those are the 3 guys that basically guarded Brunson the whole game. And I respect it from Rick Carlisle only putting certain guys on Brunson. And I'm loving that from these coaches. And Ty Lue, if he is the Clippers coach next season, he's got to think about not just switching so easily like that. Like, other teams are showing you, the good teams in the playoffs defensively are not just switching willy-nilly like that. They're switching certain guys. Hedging and recovering is not that bad. With these guards, like, they recover pretty quickly. And I just think that the switching so cheaply, I think teams that aren't taking pride on defense do that lazy shit. But in the second quarter, to respond to all this Indiana stuff, Josh Hart, he just continued to be insane. Like, he was rebounding, his finishing, and then OG Anunoby was playing so well. Good hustle, diving on the floor for loose balls, 2 threes, rebounding, finishing when he was attacking closeouts. Good stuff from him. The Pacers, I started noticing, though, around the second quarter, they were starting to put Jalen Brunson in the action a lot, which you should do. Nobody's dribbling the ball in these postseason more than Jalen Brunson. Nobody has the ball in his hands more than Brunson, and nobody is carrying a larger offensive weight than Brunson. So you need to try to make him work defensively, and they were doing it a lot, and they were getting really good stuff. And, man, Brunson, he was playing bad defense in this game. Like, he was a liability at times. It was a great ending to the half by the Pacers, which started with their defense, and they have really improved defensively a lot since the Siakam trade, just like Ben said when he came on to preview that series against Milwaukee. Siakam did a good job of starting to catch the ball close to the basket in the low post towards the end of that half, getting into some jump hooks, even some against OG. And again, TJ came back in and started making a difference. And then Tyrese Halliburton made a 3 to end the half. So really solid half of the Pacers. Miles Turner even had 9 points in that second quarter on those pick and pops. So they started to get going 31 to 22 in favor of the Pacers in the second quarter. Brunson had an 8-point quarter, and the Pacers shot 54% in the quarter and 50 from three. Miles Turner had 9 points, and nobody else had even more than 6. But at halftime, the score was 55 to 49 Pacers. And I was watching this game more from a Knicks fan perspective because I was, kind of pulling for the Knicks, and I did pick them to win. So I was looking at it like that. Third quarter, man, Miles Turner got off to a pretty good start with those pick and pops and the pick and roll. He had 8 points in the third. So 9 points. Yeah, 8 points in the third. So he was picking up right where he left off in that. He had 13 points in the third. Jesus. 13 points in the third. 4 for 8 from the field and played the entire quarter. So he had really gotten going in those pick and rolls and pick and pops. But you know who else had an amazing quarter? Dante DiVincenzo. Knocking down his 3-ball, attacking closeouts. He played the entire quarter, as did Brunson and Josh Hart. But DiVincenzo had 15 points in the quarter on 6 for 7 shooting and 3 for 4 from 3. Then Isaiah Hartenstein had 6 points, and almost all of them, at least 4 of them, were on those floaters where he's, as Clipper fans, we know how good he is at that floater in the middle of the key. But the Pacers responded with a 10-0 run that was capped off by a steal in the backcourt where the Knicks, they just completely lost concentration. Brunson started to go cold for a sec. He only got 4 shots off in the third quarter, and I think part of that was the ball denial of the Pacers. And, of course, they started to hedge on the screens, so trying to make Brunson get rid of the ball. And they started going to more of a just quick show and recover, not even like a hard hedge, because they don't want to let Hartenstein get behind the defense. Just a quick little show and recover to just prevent Brunson from getting downhill and putting the defender in jail behind his back, the point of attack guy, just showing in time or showing enough for McConnell or Nembhard to get back around. And they did a really good job of that in this stretch of the game in this third quarter. And a 10-0 run capped off by a terrible lapse by Mitchell Robinson where he wasn't even looking for the ball. They steal it, and it's all TJ McConnell in those backcourt steals. He's been doing it all season long, and his whole career damn near, it feels like. And Obi Toppin had a reverse dunk in that stretch to make it a 10-0 run. And then, just the stretch by TJ McConnell in the third quarter, he was getting the step on everyone, turning the corner on everyone. Just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. 3 for 3 in the third quarter, 6 points for McConnell. If you combine Turner and McConnell and Toppin, that's 25 of the 32 points in the quarter for the Pacers. And they got outscored, though, still 33-32 in the quarter by the Knicks. And I'll tell you this, the Knicks had 13 made field goals and 11 assists for those field goals. So you love to see that. One was a beautiful textbook fast break from OG to Josh Hart, who bounced past it to DiVincenzo. I love those fast breaks where the ball barely touches the floor. It's very reminiscent of the 60s Celtics and the 80s Celtics and the 80s Lakers. And just basically teams from back in the day that knew how to run fast breaks properly and didn't stop at 3-point lines and allowed the defense to recover because they like to shoot threes. Anyway, not the point. Obi Toppin, my jaw dropped and I couldn't talk for 2 minutes when I saw that he fucking pulled off a between the legs dunk in the middle of a playoff game. The audacity to do something like that and the balls. Oh my God. I've gained so much respect for Obi Toppin in this postseason. He's been balling out, man. He's been hooping for the Pacers. Hold on. My audio cut out. Let me check where I was. To do something like that. He has been balling for the Pacers. He's been, the confidence to do it between the legs dunk, and he did it with a smile. He knew what he was doing to those former Knicks fans, and they were booing after that, as they should. It's the playoffs. But man, and then what a crazy ending to the quarter. By the way, Hartenstein made a half-court shot at one point. Miles Turner hit a buzzer beater at the end of the third, but Hartenstein hit a half-court shot at the end of the second quarter. But that shot by Turner was crazy to end the third. And at this point, the Knicks, they're going into the fourth quarter down by, 5 points? I thought they just had to lock in on both ends of the floor, attention to detail, get Brunson back going again, and then take better care of the ball and tighten up on D. I know that's very basic, but like it just felt like they were right there. And the Pacers still threw the first punch. Toppin had a three. I mean, he was everywhere, man. Obi, he's been so good. And then TJ McConnell had a layup on the break with the left hand that put them up 94-85, caused Tom Thibodeau to call a timeout. And then Knicks started crawling back a little bit because Brunson started to get going, started to get to the foul line. Aaron Nesmith, he had this dunk on Mitchell Robinson that was ridiculous. Again, jaw dropped. I mean, this game was awesome. This game was awesome. The ending was a little unfortunate, though. I'm going to talk about that. But Brunson, he started getting going. And what we've seen from Brunson in this postseason is just an amazing ability to close games. He's got such control of the game and finds a way to get his shots, even despite his size. The Knicks were switching Hart and OG on to Pascal, so they're just comfortable switching that, which is no problem. Obviously, I would do the same. And I noticed when the Knicks were trying to put Halliburton in the action in the fourth, the Pacers were just kind of dropping Halliburton, so they didn't let Brunson walk into anything, then having him recover. One time they got burned where Brunson had a line drive to the basket. And then guess who turned up for the Knicks as per tradition in this postseason? Josh Hart. And one, and then he misses the free throw, gets the rebound, and goes up and scores again. I mean, are you kidding me? This guy's crazy. And then the Knicks go down by 5, 109-104. You think, oh my God, maybe the Pacers are going to get this win. Jalen Brunson, it's a contested three with Nembhard in his face towards the end of the shot clock. Halliburton then dribbles off his foot, unforced error. OG picks up the ball. Brunson gets fouled and makes both. Now you're tied at 109. And then Tyrese Halliburton had another turnover. OG Anunoby stole it and dunked. OG's defense, I mean, especially off ball, the way and then he started guarding Siakam and forced to stop. OG Anunoby has literally won several games. I think it was game 4 and this game 1 majorly impacted the game at the end with his defense. And that's very valuable to be able to take over a game on the defensive end. And I'm not saying necessarily he took over the game, but like, geez, I mean, the big plays. And then the fadeaway that Brunson had over Nembhard made it 113-109. At this point, I thought the game was done. I thought the game was done, but then it got really controversial. There was one possession where I think it was Brunson who was coming up the court or DiVincenzo, one of them. It was Brunson. DiVincenzo set a screen. It was a pretty hard screen. Didn't even look legal. Brunson throws a pocket pass, and it's hit by Aaron Nesmith. They called it kickball, and the Pacers had just reviewed something, so they couldn't review it. It was so clearly tipped with the hand. And then DiVincenzo made the go-ahead 3 off of that. I really am not a guy that blames officials for things. I really don't like doing it. But it's like, I hate to see such big calls impact playoff games. I mean, I really hate to see that. It's just, that was not a kick ball. And it's a game-changing call because he makes the 3 after. If he misses the 3, okay. He makes the 3. And give DiVincenzo full credit. He made a huge shot. Brunson made the right play. But like, wow. And then on the other end, you're down by 2. And then, because Brunson threw the ball away. That was crazy that Brunson threw the ball away like that when he was trapped. And he tries to throw it off Halliburton, and then it goes right back off of him. But by the way, for Halliburton to have 2 turnovers late in the game like that is really costly. You can't be doing that. You're the best player on the team. And then there's the famous, or the call now that everyone's talking about, Miles Turner's moving screen. Look, they reviewed it and they didn't win it. So that means it was a moving screen. But here's my thing. It's like the UConn game against Iowa, the women's game. Like, you don't call that in that moment. It wasn't that egregious to call a moving screen in that moment. DiVincenzo's out there flopping like a fish, and then Nesmith is playing basketball on the other end, doesn't get awarded because he flopped. And it's like, and I like the Knicks, man. I think this is amazing that they're in the playoffs. I love the hype around it. I love the playoff games at MSG. Undoubtedly, they've had the best crowd thus far of any team. And then you have this, like, amazing alumni base in New York of Starks is coming to every game sitting in the baseline. Marbury's coming there. Frazier's always there. Bill Bradley, Dollar Bill is there. I mean, it's awesome. Tim Thomas is there. Like, fuck Tim Thomas. But I mean, this is awesome to watch. But the fact that they've had 2 games essentially, I don't want to say handed to them, but 2 games that were generously shifted in their direction with that call at the end of the Philly game and game 2. And then this one, it doesn't sit well with me. And then Andrew Nemhard commits a stupid foul before the ball's in play, which essentially let Brunson end the game at the line. So a terrible loss of the Pacers. They lose it 121 to 117. Great win for the Knicks, but I think, like, again, I don't blame a game on officials, but that was really suspect. That several calls, because you called a moving screen on Miles Turner, but DiVincenzo's was arguably more obvious. You didn't call it because he didn't flop. DiVincenzo totally flopped. I mean, it's just, I just hate that shit. I just hate it. And I like the Knicks. I'm rooting for them in this series. But I want to see New York, Boston, like the good old days in the 70s. Conference finals, just like the 70s. Oh, man. Knicks used to own those boys, though, huh? Not true. 69 Celtics beat them. 69 Celtics. What an iconic team. Won every series on the road. 4 seed. Bill Russell riding out into the sunset. Does it get sweeter than that? And Sam Jones. Anyway, let's read the lines for game 1 in this game. By the way, Jalen Brunson. I was looking at the game in the beginning and I'm like, okay, he's going to have 18 points to hit 40 again. That's not happening in the fourth quarter. And he did exactly that. And you know what the funny part is about Brunson? He missed some really good looks that he usually makes. And he had a terrible turnover that could have been costly at the end. But the guy just finds a way, man. He's the best. He might be the best closer in these playoffs so far. Right now, everything that All Ball and Fabian were saying is true so far. I mean, he's been insane. He's doing this without a co-star. And I will say, Josh Hart is playing at an all-star level right now. But he's not a star. He's never been a star. And until I even see him considered for an all-star game, he's a really great role player until then. But maybe Josh Hart is this Knicks era's Michael Cooper. He's their Dick Barnett. Although Dick Barnett, as good of a defender as he was a much better scorer than Josh Hart. But Josh Hart is he's better at the intangibles. Dick Barnett wasn't like a rebounder like this. But my point is he just does the dirty work. He's not a star, even though Dick Barnett was a star 1 or 2 times. But, that shooting guard that does guard the best player, does these things. Clutch. So, man, I mean, it's pretty cool to watch, man. It's pretty cool. So let's read the lines for the Pacers. By the way, Brunson, 21 points in the fourth quarter. Josh Hart, 7 points in the fourth quarter. OG, Josh Hart, and DiVincenzo all played the entire quarter. Brunson played all but 1 minute and 38 seconds. For the Pacers, Siakam played the entire quarter. That was the only guy that did. He had 8 points in the fourth, so I thought he had a pretty good quarter. Neesmith had 8 points in the fourth, and Nemhard had 6. Let's read the lines. By the way, Halliburton, 0 shot attempts in the fourth. And I'm going to talk about why in a sec. Let's read the lines first for the winners. The Knicks, they shot 54% from the field and 48% from 3. That's big time. Precious Achiuwa played 4 minutes. Tibbs tried going big for a sec. He had 1 point from the foul line, 1 for 2. Didn't get a shot off. Deuce McBride, quieter game for him, only got 10 minutes and 36 seconds. And, the crowd was loving him. He had such a great series against Philly, but he was 0 for 2 in this game with a donut and 1 assist. Mitchell Robinson played 12 minutes, quieter game for him, 2 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. It was a starter's night. It was a starter's game. They all played 36-plus minutes. Isaiah Hartenstein played 36, had 13 points, 6 boards, 4 assists, just 1 turnover on 5 for 9 shooting, 1 for 1 from 3. That was that half-court shot, and 2 for 2 from the line. Isaiah's playing at a very high level right now. He's rebounding. He's defending. He doesn't have to defend Joel Embiid anymore. And his floater was solid, and he does a good job in drop coverage. There's times where Brunson's guarding at the point of attack, and he's just completely wiped out on the screen, and Hartenstein is doing such a solid job of guarding 2 at once. It's so hard to watch Hartenstein, do all these things for the Knicks because, he was so obviously somebody that should have been kept. And we all loved him here in LA. We loved him. And now I have to see him ball out in the fucking second round while my team is injured every season. It's an embarrassment. Mason Plumlee. for washed up John Wall because Paul George wants a point guard constantly to take the ball out of his hands. And then now it's like, oh, I'm not enough rhythm. It's like, we need to play faster. It's like, ugh, he just always finds a way to make an excuse. Anyway, how about OG? Actually, no. Yeah, how about OG? I mean, he did not shoot well, but this guy, he makes all sorts of winning plays. 13 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 turnovers on 5 for 14 shooting, 3 for 7 from 3. If you don't think OG Anunoby had a good game because he shot 5 for 14, you don't know basketball. He was awesome. How about DiVincenzo? Arguably his best game of the playoffs, probably was. 25 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 blocks, 2 turnovers. That third quarter was huge. He had the go-ahead 3, 10 for 17 from the field. And how about 5 for 9 from 3? 11 threes made for the Knicks, 5 from DiVincenzo. Huge game to have 25 points. And then how about a guy who had 24 points? Josh Hart. I think he was a player of the game, honestly. 24 points, 13 rebounds. That's ridiculous. Although I want to say one thing. To start the game, it felt like Indiana did a pretty good job of putting a body on the Knicks players. But as the game went on, I'm looking at Josh Hart. He has gotten so many offensive rebounds in the playoffs, and you allow him to just run in for rebounds. Nobody's boxing him out. Like, there's such little box outs happening in today's NBA, guys. Like, it's ridiculous because people aren't going for offensive rebounds that much except for like these select guys. Everyone just kind of gets back on D. It's rebounding. Let me tell you something, man. Everybody that says that everything's better today in the NBA is completely clueless. You really are going to tell me that you can watch a game from the past, from even 15 years ago, and you think that these players are better rebounders? That's insane if you believe so. Insane, because it's not emphasized the same way. It's literally just not taught the same way. And Steve Kerr, if you don't believe me because I'm just a podcast guy that coaches at a youth level on a microphone, then ask Steve Kerr, because he actually had a quote about that, how players don't even box out because they don't even play in college that long. And it's just ridiculous, man. I have to teach these fundamentals to kids that are playing AAU in the rec league. In the rec league. They're not even doing it in AAU. So many dudes just jump up and hope they can get the ball because they're tall and athletic. It's insane. Where's the box out, man? Where's the box out? I mean, it's bad fundamentals, man. Like, there's not that many great rebounders in the game today. Jokic is a good one. Sabonis is a good one. Looney. I mean, Zubats is pretty good. Clippers have like 2 good rebounders. Like, oh, Westbrook is great. Kawhi, Zubats, Plumlee's not bad. Like, there's not that many good rebounders today, man. There's not. Drummond is a good one. Josh Hart. Yeah, that was the whole point of this discussion. But, like, I'm not moved. Embiid's pretty good. But, like, it's no, like, like Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell. Like, the funny part is people discount them so much in the GOAT debate. These guys have the argument of being the best rebounders of all time, and that's just, like, not even valued at all because people have this myth that Bill Russell played against smaller players, which is not true. Bill Russell's a 6'9.5" center. Like, he did not play against smaller players. Wilt Chamberlain played against smaller players because everyone's smaller than him in general. If Wilt Chamberlain played now, he would be taller than everybody. It's only like Boban and Porzingis and Chet and Wemby that are like as tall as him. Like, very few. And of course, yes, those guys did not exist back then, but he still played better centers than exist today. Like, that's not even negotiable. I can't stand those arguments against Wilt and Bill that didn't play competition when they played against better centers. Yeah, and then you want to talk about 90s guys. Appreciate this comment. You want to talk about 90s players. Rodman is just a complete anomaly in general in the history of basketball to be 6'7" and rebound the way he did. But like Oakley, Ewing, I mean, these guys are great rebounders because they were taught rebounding for 4 years. I mean, come on. It's a huge difference. Tyson Chandler, he was an amazing rebounder. Reggie Evans. DeAndre Jordan was a great rebounder. Reggie Evans was insane. It was unbelievable. I think Draymond's pretty good, Kyle, but it's not as good as some of these other, like, historically great, like Nate Thurmond or like Kareem. Like, these guys get every rebound in sight. Like, they just have a knack for it. Just have a real knack. Dave DeBusschere, even John Havlicek. Like, these guys are just unbelievable rebounders because it was so emphasized. Anyway, Anthony Davis is a pretty good rebounder. I'll give him that. Jason Kidd, yes, he was one of the best for a guard. Absolutely, no doubt. Some great ones, man. Shout out to the great rebounders in NBA history. I think Bill Russell is the greatest rebounder that I've seen with my 2 eyes watching full games, but I haven't seen Rodman quite enough yet. I think I might say Rodman when it's all said and done, but Russell's knack for boxing out and just like he just goes for the ball. He just goes for the ball. It's amazing to watch the film. Anyway, all right. Now, I mean, did I talk about Brunson? I didn't talk about. I talked about Josh Hart, 24 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. He did turn the ball over 5 times though. But here's the most amazing part about this fucker. He played the entire game. He played the entire game again. I mean, it's ridiculous. This guy's stamina. That's why I mentioned Havlicek, because Havlicek, if you guys look up his minutes logged, that's why you guys got to, hey, this is free education. We'll do more content on him in the summer, but if you guys go to like my videos, like dime dropper, dime machine highlight reels or like film breakdowns, I break down old school film in order to like, so you guys can get better idea of like the GOAT debates. And Havlicek plays so many minutes. It's like ridiculous in such a fast paced era. So like, that's why I say Josh Hart, giving me some John Havlicek vibes. All right. How about, I mean, that's 9 for 13, 5 for 8 from the foul line isn't great, but one of those misses resulted in a putback. I mean, 24, 13, and 8 is a ridiculous stat line for a guard. And then Brunson, I mean, what more can you say? 43 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and a block. He did have 4 turnovers, though. He was 14 for 26, 1 for 4 from 3, and 14 for 14 from the foul line. I just love how relentless Brunson is. He constantly gets to the basket and gets in the paint and puts pressure on your defense. I mean, it's amazing. He's so great. And 3 postseasons in a row he's done this. 3 postseasons in a row. We need to really talk about Jalen Brunson's place amongst the NBA's hierarchy at this point. I mean, he is just amazing. And you know why his game translates? Because he can't get sped up, and he's so great in the mid-range. He plays with his back to the basket for a guard, which is super unconventional now. He is awesome. I love watching him play. And even though he's a major ball pounder to a degree, he has no choice on this team. And I still think he doesn't waste dribbles. You know, I think sometimes he'll dribble to catch his breath, but he doesn't waste too many dribbles, and he embraces every spot of the floor, which I love. But I do think that one player doing this much is not sustainable for a championship run. That's why I'm telling Fabian and All Ball and those guys who I love to death, and, you know, they're my guys. But I just don't think that they can win a championship like this. I think it's still too much. But anyway, how about the Pacers? Let's read their lines. They shot 52%. Wow. And 38.5 from 3, 79% from the foul line. Ben Shepherd played 18 minutes and played pretty well. He was a plus 13 off the bench. 8 points, 2 boards, 2 assists on 3 for 5 shooting and 2 for 4 from 3. Impressive what I've seen from him. Isaiah Jackson was awesome. 13 minutes, 8 points, 5 rebounds, 3 blocks on 4 for 6 shooting. He was a plus 5. I thought he had his best playoff game yet. And then TJ McConnell. Let's go Obi first. Obi was great. 12 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, a between the legs dunk. He was a plus 4, 5 for 7 from the field, 2 for 3 from deep in 19 minutes. I mean, talk about production. He's been so good. The Pacers have one of the best benches in the league. And this guy's the main result. I mean, the main reason. TJ McConnell, 18 points, 3 rebounds. No, I'm sorry. 18 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists, 3 steals on 9 for 16 shooting. He was tied for most field goal attempts on the team. But I mean, when he shot that well, what can you say? 18 points in 22 minutes. He was amazing. And then you have the starters, all of whom played 29 plus minutes. Andrew Nembhard played 29. He had 11 points, 2 rebounds, and 4 assists, but he had a really bad mistake at the end with that foul. He was 4 for 10 from the field and 1 for 2 from 3. He's a second-year player. I think he's very good, but I expect him to play better at home. And then Nesmith, he had a pretty good game. I mean, 12 points. Half of them came from the line, but he didn't miss a free throw. 6 boards, 3 assists, 1 turnover on 3 for 6 shooting. He was 0 for 2 from 3, though. But I think if you get 12 points from Aaron Nesmith and he gives you what he does on defense, I think that's good enough. You got double figures from Nembhard and Nesmith. I mean, that's fine. I think the thing is the Pacers just aren't a very good defensive team, but they are. Oh, God, my audio cut out again. Damn it. Hold on. Ridiculous stat line. 4, 13, and 8 is a ridiculous stat line. Jesus, that's where it stopped? Okay, my bad, guys. All right, forgive me if I repeat certain things, okay? I need the audio to be clean because I want to do a whole process after. Jalen Brunson. I mean, this guy's a beast, man. This guy's a beast. He continues to impress. He had 4 straight 40-point games, 43 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 block. He did have 4 turnovers, though, on 14 for 26 shooting, 1 for 4 from 3, and 14 for 14 from the line. The thing about Brunson is he constantly puts pressure on your defense, does not bail you out, and he doesn't neglect any spot of the floor, which is what makes him so great in the playoffs compared to other guys. He'll post up a guard. He's got that bully ball in him. I love his game, and we really got to start talking about where he goes in the hierarchy of the NBA because he literally, quite literally, 3 years in a row, he's been amazing in the playoffs. But yeah, as far as the Pacers starters, I think you got what you needed from Nembhard and Nesmith to have a combined 23 points. In terms of Miles Turner, I thought he was really good too. 23 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block on 8 for 16 shooting, 2 for 6 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the foul line. He had a pretty solid game. I don't think there's much wrong to say about Miles Turner. Siakam, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal. But I have to say, I think the Pacers look better when they try to get Siakam more involved. I think you saw that in the first 2 games of the Bucks series. I think, him only shooting 16 times when he's the best scorer on the team is not good enough. I think you got to give him the ball more. 19 points is not enough. He shot 50%, but 2 for 4 from the foul line isn't great. I think, and then Halliburton was just nowhere near good enough. And my issue with Halliburton is that he only has a 3-ball and a floater in his bag. Like he doesn't have anything else, it seems. No mid-range. His shot mechanics make it so that he has to stop on a dime. I'm sorry. He has to come to a full stop. He has that step back 3, but like I'm not seeing much downhill rim pressure. I'm not seeing much of anything. And then he turned the ball over way too much at the end. He had only 6 points in the game, 2 rebounds, 8 assists, 4 steals, 3 turnovers on 2 for 6 shooting and 2 for 5 from 3. Look, he only shot 1-2. I have there's no, he doesn't look 100%. He's injured. We can't just make those excuses when they lose. It's just not how that works. He's in the first playoffs of his entire career. He's going to make mistakes. It's very normal. So it is what it is. He did not play well enough. That's the simple fact. So he's got to be better. Brunson's a lot better than Halliburton, by the way. That's not even a debate. Now that I'm watching the games, it's not even a debate. By the way, Fabian, I love you to death, but that Fox and Halliburton discussion is still a debate to me. Halliburton's a much better playmaker, but he's just the mid-range in the playoffs is so important, and he just doesn't have the in-between game that's reliable to me yet. Anyway, good win for the Knicks, but the officiating, I'm not going to say they cost them the game, but it's getting really suspect. And it's making me not want the Knicks to win the championship because it's a little cheese, but we'll see. The referees won't dictate the champion. I can promise that. Anyway, that's it for me in this episode, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I apologize for the delayed broadcast. I'm trying to go in depth as much as I can, but I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to go watch Minnesota game 2. Then we'll get to the Cleveland series and and Dallas fans. I know I've had so many Mavs fans subscribe to me recently. I apologize for not giving you the breakdowns you deserve in the first 3 games. It'll be coming this week. I'll be I'll be up to speed soon. Peace out, everybody. Have a great night. And now to the live subscribers waiting patiently in the chat. Super chats are turned on if you want to drop $1 or a dime. Peace.